Well, hello and welcome. Oh, what happened to that clink? That was no clink.
Sorry. There we go.
Still
welcome to We've Got This Maybe, the podcast. That sounded like we practiced.
Erin, and we just natural at this now.
I know, it's not been 18 weeks of practicing, but we've finally got in time. I mean, I actually mentioned in the podcast at the top of the episode, so kudos to us.
Well done us.
Well done us, that's amazing. And new table.
Yeah, just a bit of a switcheroo. You know how you kind of like, I don't know if you're that way inclined at home, but I sometimes have a little switch around just to refresh.
Yeah,
the vibe.
Furniture reorganisation. And you'll only be able to see this if you're watching us on YouTube.
Yes,
but we have
Spotify.
We have a new coffee table here. I like it. More spacious.
Yes. So that was the sort of vibe. And also these used to be our side tables on either side of the sofa.
Perfect.
And we've brought them together.
I like it.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
So this one this week is a deep one, I'd say, maybe. And I
wonder where this is going to go. Yeah, I'll be interested.
We've touched on it maybe a little bit before in other episodes in terms of like personal anxiety, insecurities, influence from when you're much younger and how that affects you as an adult. But this conversation we've decided upon because I think you and I may have like similar or maybe even really different perspectives on this, and we want to unpick it. But it's around sort of like body positivity, I guess I'd like to frame it as, but potentially body negativity in our own minds and how, you know, we were influenced growing up, maybe what's led us to feel how we feel about our bodies, our own insecurities, securities, all of that sort of stuff. So that's what we're diving into today. I think that's a really good one. So like, I don't know, like tell me, like, was there ever a trigger point for you as a child when you were first aware of your body?
Ooh. I mean, the first thing that's come into my head is that I went to boarding school. And in my head, there's no particular specific moment, but I think the one arena that definitely had sort of body, I was more conscious maybe, was because I was at boarding school with a load of girls.
Girls' school?
It was a girls' boarding school. So again, you're in a very intimate environment with a lot of your peers, which again was very fun because it's literally like a sleepover every night.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was a lot of sort of, not side-eyeing, like judging, but side-eyeing going, oh, what's she wearing? What's that? Oh, she, you know, look at her, I don't know, trousers, or, you know, oh, look, that t-shirt looks nice on her. I wish my t-shirt looked that nice on, I don't know, like there wasn't anything specific, but that's what came into my head.
How old were you when you went to boarding school?
11.
Okay, so like peak, like pre-pubescent, just coming into it. And then the difficulty with girls is everyone hits at a different point. So you've got some 11-year-olds that are like way ahead, and then you've got some 14, 15-year-olds that are just catching.
Exactly. And I think that was sort of, I was very lucky, you know, I'm one of those people that did have a really good like academic and school, you know, career, but I do remember a lot of people in my year having challenges and around either being the last, you know, they haven't started their period yet, or, you know, they're not allowed to wear that type of top because their mum wouldn't buy it for them, or, you know, going to the social dances, you know, and they had like cords on instead of like leggings and a mini skirt.
Yeah.
So again, it was kind of, I guess, partially body, partially like the things we were allowed to wear, you know, so it's just kind of part and part of that, I guess.
And how old were you when maybe you like first thought anything like positive or negative about your own like personal appearance? So it's like, obviously, like you and I, we've only really known each other for like a year or so. So I actually don't know what you were like as a person 10, 15, 20 years ago, what you looked like, anything like that.
So, well, that photo album needs to come out, doesn't it? I would definitely want to share that. Do you know what? This is probably not a normal answer, but I think I've never been bothered. I've never had a, and maybe it's the friends that I kept, maybe it was the environment I was in, maybe it was the way that I didn't listen to my parents, because they certainly did used to tell me that I needed to lose weight, stay fit, all this kind of stuff. But I've never been bothered about my body. Never. And it's a very unusual thing, I think, for a woman to have.
So you mentioned your parents telling you to stay fit or whatever. Like, for what age was that, though?
Oh, definitely when I was young, like probably 10, 11.
Okay.
So
you've always had that, like, outside influence trying to make you do something.
Yeah, and I just the response I always give to this is, people used to, and it wasn't just mum and dad, it was a lot of people, and oh my god, fat people won't get boyfriends, they won't get married. Oh my god, fat people don't get hired, they're not successful career people. Like, people would tell me these things over and over again, but I was like, but I am dating, I am, like, I have got relationships, and I have got loads of friends. I'm kind of popular, and I've got really good friends, and I really like my friends, and I'm having a great time in life, and I have got a good job. I have, I've managed, and it's like all the things that people said were going to happen that were like going to destroy my life. I'm like, but that's not happened.
And you've just picked up on, like, you use the F word, like the fat word there. You used it. So, like, for what age would, like, be people like, oh, and I even coming out my mouth, because I don't even see you in this way at all. It's like, so what age would people, like, be saying, like, because you're fat, like that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think I don't recall anybody saying it to my face. I mean, maybe I've blocked it out and it's all like in the back of my head somewhere with a very, very hard locked door. Maybe I need some therapy on that. But my parents are the only ones really who would say those kind of things to me that I can remember. And that was something like, if someone tells me something like that, I very much revert to toddler tantrum style mode. And I'm like, I'm not going to listen to you about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I just genuinely, I wasn't motivated by my looks. I felt I was kind of fine. I wasn't that bothered. Like, I wasn't influenced by Kate Moss and, all the stick thin. Like, it never bothered me. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why.
So we are, I guess, of that generation potentially where it, like, flipped over, and I vividly remember, like, the size like 0. And, like, one last question for you before I promise, like, we'll jump over to me. But like, what would you say your relationship with food was like when you were growing up?
Secret eater.
Yeah.
I think I ate what I needed to eat in front of people, and then if I was hungry, I would go down and I'd sneak some food. That food would range from all sorts, gherkins in the fridge.
Oh my god! We spoke really briefly just before this conversation about nostalgia and how things just trigger you.
Has that just triggered you?
Has that just triggered pickled onions?
Pickled onions.
Oh god! Like anything I can get my hands on.
Anything you get your hands on that doesn't involve a knife, a fork, a microwave, an oven. Or, when the fridge is empty, I was like skimming off half-sliced ham, gherkins.
Right.
I mean, in a sense, that's not too bad, is it?
No.
It's not like I was sucking crisps.
We'll come back to your point in just 1 second, but that is how I feel like I am now. Anything I can get my hands on. And I'll try and go for the healthy. A bit of ham, protein. A gherkin's basically cucumber.
There's no calories in a gherkin.
I know, it sounds so funny. But I, as a younger person, I would sneak pickled onions out. It's like, what the hell?
But honestly, I think I'm really keen to hear your side as well, because I know that we've spoken before about the hang-ups that you've had when you were younger as well, because that's where I feel I don't feel I should be one of those ones saying, oh, I'm not body proud. I don't think I am body proud. I'm just Vix.
Yeah.
And that's, right now, I'm okay with being the Vix that is physically, yeah, okay, fine. There are a few things that I should change, but they're not driven by like that superficial sort of want to look good.
Yeah.
It's more about my health and what I want to do to prolong my life. So,
But everybody else has an opinion, though.
oh yeah, my God, don't they? So come on. So I think this topic is something I'm really keen to get into with you, because obviously there's a number of things that I think we've kind of picked at when we've been in other
Conversations,
episodes,
yeah.
and where did your kind of like sort of
Obsession, you were going to say?
I was observation I was going with.
Well, obsession wouldn't be too far wrong.
Yeah. Where did you start? Where did you start becoming aware? Where did you observe the sort of...
Do you know what? I don't categorically remember a time when I suddenly was aware of my body or what I felt in it.
Yeah.
I just remember being quite insecure, I guess. Like I've never been like big, right?
Yeah.
But I always maybe like held puppy fat or that sort of thing. And like my mum's always been like really slim, but she's been like very health conscious. And I think even being like really young, and not in like a detrimental way, like for her, but you know, like she's always been like really fit, like exercise. Like we would watch her exercise. She'd go to the gym frequently. Like she'd eat well. She would, you know, we've spoken about like women of the time, that Jane Fonda era before, when it was, you know, like cardio. I've got cellulite. I've got this, and I remember a time being quite young and I wanted cellulite. Ooh, so strange, right? And now I'm like, I can't believe I ever thought that. But
what do you think that was then?
I don't know what that was. Maybe it was looking at my mum and being like, oh God, like
part of being a woman.
Part of being a woman, right? That's what it was. And I remember I used to like stand side on in my parents' mirror and I'd like look, and like really young I would say I had cellulite, and I definitely didn't. But I don't know, I just remember being aware quite young of how I looked. And then, you know, I don't know about you, but certainly when I was growing up, like the Special K diet was like a thing where basically I probably wouldn't be allowed to be marketed this way. Like the Advertising Standards Agency would probably have it, but you basically eat Special K twice a day and you lose weight. Well, of course you would lose weight.
Yeah. Oh my God, I never heard of that.
What? You've never heard of the Special K diet?
No.
Cereal. Right. So
I love Special K. It's a good cereal.
They marketed it as a weight loss tool. You ate Special K twice a day and you would lose weight. So I like vividly remember that sort of stuff. I remember my mum having like Ryvita and cottage cheese. And I remember when she started that and she went on a health kick, and it was this whole thing because she was working like longer hours and she'd eat ready meals and she'd put on, in her opinion, lots of weight, and she wanted to lose that weight. Yeah. And, you know, I might have been 8 or 9 then. So it was like maybe quite stuck in my head. Like we'd have like family lunches and we'd all have whatever you have for a family lunch when you're that age. My mum would have
something different.
A pot of Ryvita and a couple of Ryvita crackers.
Yeah.
Pot of cheese. Pot of cottage cheese and a couple of Ryvita crackers. And I remember that. But that was just what society was like at the time. And then I remember going and being at school, and then as you picked up on like what people wore and like how people presented themselves. And I think it just built from there. Like I don't think I've ever had, well, I certainly don't think I've ever had an eating disorder, because I've always eaten, because I enjoy eating. And that's part of my problem. But I've always had some obsession or anxiety around food. And even being, you know, young, I remember, and I know my parents listen to this podcast, and this even might be like news for them, but like, you know, like hiding food, and not because I wasn't eating, but I was eating something else.
So when do you think you were aware of sort of that there was an anxiety, that there was like some sort of kind of worry.
Okay, so I think, and I'm just going through this in my head now, and things that we've spoken about before, and I'm just joining the dots now. I had lots of issues when I was primary age, like primary school age, with friends, and I was very not anxious as a child, but I had lots of insecurities around things. And then I think food for me was a control thing.
Yep.
It was something that I maybe felt like I could control.
Yeah.
And only now I'm thinking, well, we've had that conversation before and I know that where that come from. And now you're giving an element of responsibility. And I remember maybe being in like year 5 or year 6 at school, and we only lived about 5 minutes from the school. So when I got to that age, I was able to walk home from school on my own, and then my mum would come back like maybe half an hour or 45 minutes after I got home. When I got home, all I done was drink fizzy drinks and eat.
And would your mum notice that you'd done that?
Probably, well, I would like to have just said, and I instantly was going to say probably not, but maybe she did. Like I would go to the cupboard and I would just like pop out of the cupboard.
Really?
We had like a chocolate jar, whatever. And it was almost an element of, I can do this, it was a control thing.
Yeah, oh my goodness, that is really interesting because in my very non-educated, non-academically trained psychological kind of analysis, the fact that you're drinking the pop and you're scoring like the chocolate before mum comes home.
Yeah.
It is like a binge sort of like,
binge
I need it in. I need like a like, it's like.
Yeah. But at that time, it was never in my mind anything like eating disorder related, as we know now. So in my mind, I wasn't ever thinking I'm going to eat this and I'm going to be sick, right? Because at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, that's just not a concept.
No, of course not. And back then, I don't think it was either.
Not at that age, but that was definitely something I'd done. And I do remember like hiding things. And I'm probably like talking over a span of years here, and it's difficult for me to pinpoint how old I may have been. But I certainly remember a shift when I went into senior school.
I definitely think there's some sort of shift because that's like your hormones. There's a lot of change and disruption that happens between that primary setting and that secondary school setting. That transition's big. And a lot of people, I think, use food as a coping mechanism. And whether it's like you say, sort of like, sort of shoveling it in just for control, or whether it's coping, like the emotional, I consume my emotions. I physically consume my emotions. And I know when I'm anxious because I'll crave more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's stuff like, I know we've said before, it's when you know what you're doing, but you cannot stop. And that's the bit that gets me, is that I'm very aware of what I'm doing and how I shouldn't be doing it, but I'm still doing it.
Self-sabotage is your brain is telling you one thing, but your mouth is just like hop, 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 eat. And like I get that actually even now, like most evenings, I have that switch in my mind that is telling me I really want something, don't have it. It's that internal battle.
But I wonder whether, I mean, again, very non-educated here, but like, you know how in the 90s there was all this sort of like Green Goddess, Jane Fonda, like everything was sort of fitness, everybody's just surviving on a lettuce leaf type of, attitude, and everybody was like a size 0. It's almost like there's almost like a society or generational trauma, PTSD off that kind of thing, because I see a lot of my friends with that.
Yeah.
From what you're saying, like I can see that in a lot of my friends. And again, I'm a bit of a weirdo because to me, I never kind of bought into it. And maybe that was just the environment that I was in. I don't know, but I can see that. And a lot of my friends had the same experience you did.
It's so weird. Like I do remember being in senior school and I definitely hid food at that point.
Yeah.
I was eating food, and it may have been a combination of control, not wanting to eat the packed lunch I was given, wanting to go and get something from the canteen, whatever. And then I would come home. But it was around that time that people were starting to become aware of things like anorexia. And I definitely had people that were in my like year group at school that would probably not be anorexic, but they would fixate on it and they would try. And I say that word try because it's purposefully not eating to be a certain way rather than it being like a medical thing.
Yes, for it not transferring over into like a mental disorder. Yeah.
And weight became a thing. Like, you know, everyone wanted to be, it actually sounds wild even saying this number now, 8 stone. Like,
wow.
And I guess when you're 13, 14, 15, maybe 8 stone is achievable. But actually, as I've grown up, I remember being 18 and 19 and I had friends and it was like, I want to be 9 stone. I want to be 9 stone. And you would have a suite of girls that wanted to be 9 stone, but one of them's 5'8", one of them's 5'1", one of them had absolutely massive tits, one of them didn't. And it's like, none of you are ever going to look the same at 9 stone.
So let me ask you something, because this goes back to something we've said before. You have told me before that you are conscious of eating in front of other people.
Yeah.
Do you think that's linked to this?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think?
100%. I remember being probably like first like boyfriend that I would go to his house.
Yeah.
And, you know, the mum desperately was like, oh, do you want to come eat for dinner? Stay for dinner? No. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't drink. I've just got this anxiety of like, I actually don't know what it is. I'm not sure if it's the food thing or the looking like you're eating thing. Like, I don't know, but there is a number of things around eating which I do feel really conscious of. And I certainly went through a period of time when, you know, smartphones became a thing and you used to have apps where you would log your food. I think they're brilliant and I think they're really useful until you're tipping over into obsession. And I was weighing orange segments.
Wow. Okay. So,
like,
it
becomes obsessive.
Yeah.
Is, you know, this is how much I should eat, and I want an orange, and I'm gonna weigh this, and you know, now I'm so much more educated, and like, don't get me wrong, I still haven't, and I don't think I will ever break it, but I feel like now if I am restricting myself to a degree, I am making more sensible choices in terms of what I'm restricting. So, you know, whereas before I would literally live off air.
Yeah. See, it's really interesting. Just going back to one comment you made before about going to your boyfriend's house. And again, it was one of those things. I you know how I said, oh, nothing's ever bothered me. Do you know what? I remember that. I remember going to my first boyfriend's or some of my friends to their parents' house and not eating a thing and like being desperately hungry when I came home. Why did I do that? I genuinely don't know. And I don't know whether it was, you know how obviously yours was motivated by the food thing.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking now, I genuinely don't know why I did that. And again, maybe it is because I've never really thought about my relationship with my body before. Maybe I've ignored it. Maybe I mean, God, we're going really deep here, but you know, maybe it is the fact that I denied myself to accept the fact that I was big, or you know, I've kind of ignored it because, like I said before, like all the justifications I had, you know. But when you talked about just going to your boyfriend's and not eating anything, that really kind of got to me, and I was like, oh my God, I did that. And it's just one of those things that is, I don't know, it's. Like I've said to you before, like, I mean, I think you're amazing. And, you know, some of the decisions that you have made, I think, you know, I'm extremely kind of, I guess, proud as your friend that you're being aware of something and that you're trying to deal with it as well as accepting that it's just part of who you are. But then there's one of me going, Erin, you don't need to do that.
I know. And that's, do you know what? That's so difficult. But that is always the outside point of view. Whereas, you know, I would say that to you,
yes,
in the same way that you would say it to me, and it's a very personal thing. Like, you know, I could be, you know, and I've said this to you, like, I feel like pretty good in how I am now. Like, I genuinely do. But like a year ago, I was probably carrying 5 to 10 extra pounds, like I was, and the impact that it had on me generally, you know, was huge. Like, since how old was I? Like, since as long as I can remember, even living at home, at least at least 3 times a day, you know, morning, getting home from work, when you're getting changed before bed, I would look at myself in the mirror. And I'm sure so many people can relate to this. Lift your top up, look front on, turn side on, look at yourself in the mirror, think you look really awful. And I know to some people that sounds wild, but I know for so many people that is just
That's
life.
the case.
That's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, because that's like, I mean, to me, that I wouldn't be motivated to lift
But
my top up.
I do that now. As soon as I'm going to my bedroom, to get changed,
Let's just have a quick look.
just have a quick look. Always.
Oh, and is that a satisfaction thing or is it a disappointment? Well, like, what's the
Various, right?
Oh, okay.
So often it will be, oh, I look so bloated, or just or whatever, or it's
Yeah.
feel quite good right now, or whatever. It's just
How interesting.
it's
Yeah.
just a thing, and I just remember always being like that.
Did you see your mum doing that?
Maybe, like as I said, like she's very much like, well, I'm very much like her in that sense, and maybe that is where I've picked it up from, and I don't think that is a fault on her at all, because it's the culture and the society of the time.
Yeah, what you've seen.
And that's it. And like, I'm sure her, the same way as I say, I think a lot of my problems have been built on my own personal issues. I'm sure her issues, maybe with her weight, or how she looks, or whatever, have come from her own personal struggles.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody has their own journeys, and the thing is, there's so many things I have been in therapy for that are linked to my parents, but are not their fault. It's just the way that I either perceived something, or I something as simple as I had regression therapy, and it was to do with a traumatic event that happened when I was like 3 or 4. I can't remember it, but my God, did it like traumatize me. And this therapist had to go back, and it was as simple as being left at, you know, when you're at the cashier at a supermarket, I was staring at the sweets, apparently. This was what came through. I was staring at the sweets, and because mum was at the other end of the till, you know, where you're packing the bags, and I couldn't see her. It was that one flash moment where I felt I was lost. It traumatized me, and it impacted on myself, like, you know, the confidence that I had. And it took 3 sessions for me to unpick that.
It's mad. And that, what you said now, it just picked into, you know, growing up, we weren't, you know, I didn't ever feel like we were restricted in things, but, you know, come from a relatively health conscious mother, you know, we had chocolate in the house, we had stuff, but I didn't ever feel like we were, you know, overindulging in the way that, like, you still often see now in society.
Yeah.
But and whether that impacted me, so, you know, we were restricted, that made me go and binge when my parents went there, right? That high level, maybe that's
what onions came out.
But that's how maybe you could say, like, you know, maybe I felt like I wasn't able to have all the chocolate, so that when no one was looking, I had all the chocolate, right? Maybe. I don't know, because I actually don't remember that well. I'm just trying to join it up. But, you know, part of me now really worries about how my own food issues are coming out of me to the boys.
Yeah.
Because we are quite restrictive, I would say, day to day. We are trying to be better only because of external influence, and I can see how positive that is. You know, a couple of months ago was Easter. You know, I had a couple of friends saying, we just, you know, it's Easter, let them go wild, eat as much as they can until they don't want to, and then it's not going to be a thing. And then you have other people on the other side, like, managing it, restricting it.
Yeah.
And you know, we will give things, you know, as a praise or as a reward, or something. But we, like, our kids don't eat a huge amount of sugar, and they do want it, don't get me wrong, they want
Every kid wants
but
it.
Part of me does worry that the level of restriction, we are almost creating a thing. And that's my worry.
And have you noticed anything that would make you feel concerned?
So a couple of weeks ago, and this is probably very normal childhood behaviour, right?
Yeah.
The boys sneaked to get something out of
Did
the
they?
snack cupboard. Well, Freddie told Max to get something.
Oh, the instigator.
He was, right? So he basically
mastermind.
told his younger brother to go and get something out of the treat cupboard so they could sneak it. Part of me, I thought it was really actually quite adorable.
Yeah.
They were working together as a team. But then in my head, I'm like, have we created such a taboo that they feel they have to sneak
they can't
to get
hack.
it?
Yeah.
And is that my thing or is that their thing? And I am worried. It is in my head a little bit. Like I want to normalise those things within the food group because they're foods. We all enjoy them. I'm the worst. I've told you before about I eat cereal out the cupboard late at night. Like I am the worst for it, and I almost feel like I don't want to put that on them. Like, fine, if you want the chocolate, have the chocolate. I feel like if I let them have it, they won't want it. It's the fact that I've put a bar on it. Is the fact
it's
they
like
want
the
it.
forbidden fruit type of thing. They want
Always.
that's really interesting. So it's really curious because sort of comparing it to Sophia, because we are, I just say, definitely less restrictive, but we try and educate her so she makes good choices. So to the point that now, she understands it. But this is where again we have got worry because she now uses the word healthy a lot. So I'm saying, when she says she's hungry, and I'm like, well, you can have something healthy, like you can have some carrots, you can have some cucumber, peppers, like anything that's low sugar. I'm more than happy for her to crack on with, like Monge 2. What else? She could have like berries, like we keep punnets and punnets of strawberries and blueberries, and she could have them by the bucket load. Whereas we've still got Easter eggs that she's not bothered about. Like they're sat there and she's like, yeah.
Wild.
Do you know what I mean? And so, it's driving Lawrence nuts.
Can I have one?
Yeah, because Lawrence is like, why hasn't she eaten them? And she's really not bothered. She's not motivated, but she does love she loves herself some sweets. But she's making choices, but I'm hearing in her voice when she's saying to me, but mummy, don't worry, it'll be, if I need something, I'll have it and it'll be healthy. So again, it's like, I'm like, oh my God, am I creating a monster?
Health conscious.
Conscious monster, because she knows what she can, but is it her utilizing the phrases so she can get a snack?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Because they can be quite manipulative, those children.
That's something I'm thinking. I'm very clever. How do you do that? So, because obviously, I mean, I would be quite happy with a bowl of strawberries.
Yeah.
I mean, when they're in season, they're bloody lovely.
Yeah.
I'd quite happily choose them over a bar of chocolate.
Yeah, well, yes.
Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I can understand. But then, there is always a concern. Because obviously, Lawrence and I are big. We do use the word fat because we're happy to own that word. But again, there's that conscious thing of kind of, I mean, Sophia's not. She, she's nowhere near. But at the same time, I think we do have to be wary of what the outside world's going to present to her and how that's going to make her feel. Because she's got two big parents.
Yeah.
But we're trying to make good choices for her. Don't look at what we do. Because we've got, like you say, like I've got my emotional eating where I'll be sat with a load of skinny bars. Have you seen them? Those skinny guys.
Yeah. But you have so many of them. You may as well
might
just
as well
have a Mars bar.
Yeah. And again, it's that whole thing. And I'm trying so hard when I'm really anxious. I try so hard, but she's witnessing that. And it's that balance, mummy, what's that you're eating? And I say, oh, it's just something healthy.
But this is the thing, right? Because in our house, we make the choice not to buy stuff.
This is where I think that's where I need to do that.
Right. And that's a choice. And that's because that's the only real element of control that we've got. But that's become harder since we've had the children because you naturally have stuff in the house. So today I was sneaking mini chocolate covered animal biscuits.
Happy's ones.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or, you get a Haribo bag left over from party bags, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cereal we've spoken about before. But, for me now, like a sneaky snack is, you know, a bit of like bread and jam. Like it's now actually not a snack, it's a fully fledged meal.
Like
and it's almost even worse, or it's some grated cheese, or, you know, it's something which it's a difficult one. And I'm really aware that, you know, the kids see me they do see me exercising, pros and cons. You know, Freddie understands we eat this to give us energy to be healthy, and we exercise to make us strong.
Yeah.
But he also sees me walking on my little walk pad all of the time. And, you know, what we think is a positive influence, we don't know what that's saying to them.
We don't exactly. That's the thing. Does Freddie talk about like wanting to exercise or anything like that?
Sometimes he will say like to be healthy, or I'm going to be strong, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I see that positively, and I do think it's positive to see, you know, exercise and that just becoming a norm, because for me, I always saw my mum exercise, and I'm actually really pleased for it, because that is a very natural thing for me, and certainly for my brother as well. Like he's quite similar to me in terms of we are both quite into that, and I think that's only from just seeing how my mum was, and that's such a positive contribution, like for us, I guess. But it's, how do you balance positive versus negative influence when the children are so young, and you think you are doing positive things for them?
You never know. This is the thing. And I mean, I don't want it to trigger anybody's anxiety, but, you know, we as parents can only make the choices we see fit at the time with the information we have available. And, you know, children will take what they take. And I think our jobs as parents are just making them more aware of the choices they have, and, you know, making sure that they kind of make good choices and they value themselves in those choices. So it's not that they're doing something for everybody else because everybody else are going to judge them or, you know, say something about them. It's more about what do they want in their own, you know.
But everything that you've said should apply to us, not just our children.
Yes. No, you're so right, Erin. It's so true.
Literally,
it's a really interesting one. Yeah. I think it's a big topic, actually, this. I think kind of that whole body, because I'm really interested in body dysmorphia, the fact that it can go either way.
Yeah. And this conversation we could 100% have again.
Yeah.
The body dysmorphia thing is huge.
Yeah.
For sure. 100%.
It's just, and I guess, like I was saying before, there is something around, I don't know, in my head, there's something around that kind of 90s PTSD.
Yeah. And like, there's some things like, you know, hate me for it, love me for it, whatever. But there's not a day that goes by that I don't jump on the scales. And I know for some people that's why.
Really?
Like,
I mean, I haven't been on them since I gave birth.
But that's what I mean. But for me, it's a comfort. I don't know. It's a checker. Like all, yeah.
Like the mirror thing.
Yeah. It's a comfort. I don't know. It's hard for me to even think about it.
Like you say, like, and we could go on, and probably we will come back to this because I think it's a really good topic that I think probably a lot of people will resonate with. But I mean, it's a really interesting one that kind of, like you say, there has to be value in yourself. And I am more than happy to celebrate you going on the scales and looking in that mirror, as long as it's for you and not for anybody else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If that makes you happy, then dude, like, I'm more than happy for you to lift that t-shirt up and have a quick peek. Do you know what I mean? Like, have a little gander, but as long as it's for you and it's not making you feel, you know, horrific or really affecting your mental well-being or devaluing yourself, like, because I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll start with myself.
And I actually can't answer that right now, because I don't know what the answer to that is, whether it's for me or for anyone else or for what.
Oh, Erin, we need a freaking therapist on this show, don't we?
We 100% do, for sure. Like,
fascinating.
But that's maybe that is what we need. Maybe we need somebody that can answer some of these questions, help us, like
navigate it.
If there is anybody that you can recommend, listeners,
if there's anybody,
that you think that we could maybe ask some questions to, get on this show and just help us unpick this stuff, because it's certainly not us. You know, we've got these conversations, so other people must be having them.
Yeah, surely.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, as we always say, we're so grateful for everybody who listens and likes us and comments and things like that. So yeah, if you've got any ideas, any thoughts about things that you want us to talk about,
Yeah, let us
get in
know.
touch.
Yeah, and just remember, we've got this. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Who knows?
Oh,
Oh,
babe.
interesting one.
See you soon.